Yeah, I know what this is. So
Check it.
Next up on the chopping block, we have got a 2004 Dodge Ram 2500. It's in for a stage 3 package, which includes a full wash and 2-stage decontamination of the paint via a fallout remover, as well as a clay bar. This is the condition of the paint once it's been dried and thawed overnight, since it's pretty ugly outside with the snow and whatnot. I'll show the condition of the paint later on once it's all washed and cleaned up and you can see it, everything stripped away. The undercarriage that is visible, see all this dirt that's stuck in there. All of that will be taken care of and cleaned and conditioned. Same with the tires and wheels. Everything will be nice and tidy once again. Let's take a look at running boards. It's got the usual dirt and grime. It's this time of year, the stuff gets stuck on and frozen to the paint due to the freezing conditions outside, obviously. Headlights will be properly restored via wet sanding, polishing, and sealing. The engine bay, which is kind of poorly lit right now, I will show later on, will get a full detail as well. Properly conditioned using water-based conditioners. This side, same kind of story, doesn't look much different. Once I get it washed, you'll be able to see everything that's going on. Let's take a look at the interior. All the door cards, all of the plastics, everything that's going on in there, vents, all of that will be properly steam cleaned and conditioned. All the plastics will get Geon preserved. The leather will be conditioned with Griot's Garage leather care spray afterwards. Once it's been cleaned, obviously, we do not just spray conditioners on top of dirty seats. The running mats, the floor mats will be properly washed and cleaned, as well as like the kick panels. All this usually gets pretty beat. Door jambs, the usual. Proper lighting later on as well. You won't be able to see much back here either. It's pretty dark until I get my lights in there. Let's take a look over here. Yeah, usual. It'll be pretty clean and shiny once again once it's all completed. However, it's gonna be a big process. Let's show us some stuff here first. Yep, it's a farm truck. or has seen a farm. Won't make any accusations yet. Door jambs, yeah, same story. Gotta get clean. All the finishing touches. I'll show the process step by step, and it'll be a decent sized project. Can't wait to see how this one turns out. Alright, now that the truck is washed, I will be moving on to the interior, taking care of all the dirt, grime, all the stuff that's kind of stuck in all the cracks and crevices, and on all the plastics. I got the floor mats out, the rubber ones, because it's pretty easy to get those out. Take care of them. This shows exactly what I got to deal with now. We got dirt all on the kick panel, we got stains, got dirt and stains on the carpet floor mat. Pedals are really dirty. Got dirt in the cup holders, dirt and grime on the buttons like usual. The dash isn't too dirty, not that bad. We got dirt on the steering column. The seats will be taken care of. The armrest doesn't look that bad, but it probably is pretty dirty once you start getting into it. We've got the usual dirt and grime on the buttons. We've taken care of that. Show a step-by-step kind of process what goes into getting this thing clean again. Alright, so interior has been cleaned. This is just the raw plastic look. There's nothing on the plastic. Same with the leather seats and the inserts here. This has all been cleaned. Nothing has been dressed. Carpet's got a nice steam cleaning. Guard about any stains, any dirt that's left over. Let's take a look at the back seat here. Same kind of deal. Still need to do another vacuum, which I will do later once the glass and everything is dressed. But yeah, ended up taking me a little bit longer than normal, just because Dodge trucks take longer. But move on to the next step and I'll keep you updated. You gotta have it clean before you put a dressing on. And for the dressing, I used Geon Preserve, and it made everything really nice and smooth looking. And it's dry to the touch. There's no like sticky, gooey, oily residue. This is 100% dry to the touch. It looks really good. It feels really nice too. So the seats got a layer of Griot's Garage leather care spray. Kind of stumbled on my words. And everything else just got final vacuumed and cleaned up. Door jambs got cleaned. Glass got cleaned. Let's take a look at the back here. Back seats, same kind of story. All these cubbies cleaned. These pieces themselves were all cleaned. Ooh, a little bit stiff. Same kind of story. Nice natural finish, dry to the touch. Everything has been cleaned and conditioned. Alright, engine bay. About to get properly taken care of. Got a lot of dirt in all the nooks and crannies. Battery's pretty dirty. Up in there. Give that a rinse. Try and take care of as much of these caked on bugs and stuff that we can. However, lots of times this stuff doesn't really come off, unfortunately. So, we'll just see what we can do with it. And we'll go from there. Alright, fast forward to the next day. I'm about to start on this engine bay by dressing it. It's been properly detailed so far, but it's just needing some dressing to darken things up. I'll be using the same dressing as what I used on the tires, which is P&S Detail Products All Shine Performance Dressing, diluted 1:1. I'll come back and get in all the little nooks and crannies with some microfibers to kind of level it off afterwards, but it'll really it'll tidy things up. See how this turns out. Alright, so engine bay is done, body's done, interior's done. Just gonna kind of highlight what's been done each step, I guess. So it's got brushed down safely using engine safe degreasers, and a spot-free rinse is then dressed with a water-based dressing. Hydrate all the plastics, all the hoses. Nothing's gonna get dried out with a silicone-based dressing. Nothing sticky. It's all dry to the touch. Looks nice and refreshed. That's the best way to describe it. Alright, so next up we've got to do the headlights. As part of the stage 3 package, you get a headlight restoration included. And these are in dire need of some love. So I've done sets of these before. They are tough to do. It's a very hard plastic and really awkward, like bend in the middle here. But I'll see what I can do and bring out as much clarity as I can. Let's take a look at the other one. Not so bad. Got a little bit of burning up in there. Might be a little tough. Same with on this side, but do some sanding and see what kind of clarity we can pull out of them. Alright, just wrapped up the headlights. Sealant is just currently curing. I'd say these turned out alright. Quite a bit clearer than they were before. Still some like scarring. It's hard to see. Just along like the upper edge there of the like ball just sticks out. But overall it came out pretty good. Let's take a look at the other one. Pretty good, I'd say. I'd say that passes my approval. These headlights, yeah, like I say, and they're kind of hard to work on, and as I was thinking about it, turn over here, there's a set of headlights on the exact same style of truck, just a smaller body obviously, that I did a couple years ago, and they are still relatively pretty clear. These see a lot of like road grime and salt. These are pilot truck headlights, so they see some abuse. So if they look like that 2 years later, I'd say that these are going to turn out pretty good too. So not too bad. Alright, so while my steam cleaner is heating up, I'm going to do the dressing on both the fender liner and the tires. So I've got two different products here in two different bottles. I've got Chemical Guys Bare Bones, which is a solvent-based dressing which goes on the fender liner. It'll help darken all of the plastics that are in there. All the suspension components that are visible will be like kind of refreshed, I guess you could call it. And it'll kind of just clean a bit more than what's already there because it's solvent based. It'll kind of dissolve what's, I guess, stuck to the fender liner. The tire dressing that I use is the P&S Detail Products Shine All Performance Dressing. I diluted it 1-to-1 with water because the conditions we live in, we don't have to worry about the tires turning brown because of the product that we're using. We have to worry about dust and dirt in the environment sticking to the actual dressing itself. It's not the dressing that's turning brown, it's the dirt that's sticking to the dressing that's turning the tires brown. So I use a water-based dressing because it's much easier to clean off than a silicone dressing, and silicone dressings are horrible for your tires. So I'm just gonna quickly spray these on and show you what it looks like after it's done. Alright, so now that I've kind of sprayed everything on, I got my scan grip light just to kind of brighten things up a bit here. This is what the tire looks like after I have sprayed down the 1-to-1 Shine All Performance Dressing on the tire. It's pretty wet, obviously. However, over time it'll dry, and I will go back with the microfiber and just level it off with a damp microfiber. It'll kind of just even out the surface and it'll make it look a lot more natural looking. This is what the fender liner looks like after I've sprayed it with Bare Bones. It's a very consistent finish. The suspension looks wet, but it'll kind of dry itself off over time. Yeah, it really just puts the icing on the cake having darkened fender liners. It really cleans up the full look of the truck, because you can have the paint, which is clearly not in good shape, I'll get to that later. Paint can be fully polished, but if you have like really like dull, gross looking fender liners, it's just an eyesore, especially at supper time or like evening when the sun is kind of going down. It hits in there, just really makes it stand out. So I like to make those really nice and dark. Kind of pulls the eyes away from the inside of this gross area and really focuses on the wheel or on the paint itself. So I'll come back to that later and just tidy it up and just finish it off before it's all ready to go. Alright, so next up, while the dressing dries on the engine bay, I gotta move on to the paint. This paint is fairly beat up. See if I can get this to show better. There we go. It's got a fair amount of scratches, rids, really big, deep scratches, wash brush marks, everything. I'll see what I can do with a single step. I gotta make some time on it, but at the same time I need to cut out as many defects as I possibly can. So I'll see what I can do, but it's not looking very optimistic right now. However, we'll see what kind of pad combo with compound I can figure out works best. We'll go from there. Alright, so I just got this front fender finished up. This is the condition of the paint before. That's what the hood looks like. This is what it looks like after. Yeah, there's still quite a few swirls and rids, but this thing would need a lot more than a single step to pull all those out. So let's just go panel to panel. It's a pretty big improvement. It'll definitely make the rest of the truck look glossy. However, like I said, it's not a permanent or perfect solution. So I'll carry on and see what I get out of it. Oh, and the combo I'm using is Crio's Garage Fast Correcting Cream and their white correcting foam pads, which are the most aggressive foam pads I can use before stepping into microfiber territory. So see what it turns out like, I guess. Driver's side has been polished. Definitely still some scratches, but this is only a single step polish. This is not a full-blown correction. And especially with paint in this condition, it's really hard to make it look super flawless, obviously, because you can't cut all that out with one step. And if you can, you're going really, really, really aggressive. Still needs to be wiped down completely. There's polish residue still stuck on the paint. Roof's been done, all the pillars. So now move on to the hood, which is equally as scratched up, so probably do the same kind of process I've been doing on these doors. Bring us some more gloss on the hood. Hood is usually the worst area to be able to see what your scratches outside, because the sun is always pointing down on the hood. It's not like it's pointing down on the side all the time. Usually the only time you'll see the sun hitting on the door panels is later in the evening, which is kind of like what I mentioned earlier with the wheels and the tires with the fenders. If the sun is coming down at a low angle, you'll be able to see the sun on the doors, and it'll show the scratches that are on the doors, and it'll show what's in the fender liner if it's not dressed or not. So kind of gotta keep that in mind, but like I said, the hood is usually what gets shown the most when it comes to the sun, so I'll do some heavy cutting and see what I can pull out of this one. Alright, so hood is polished. Let's see if I can get a better shot. That's the final product after a pretty heavy single step polish. However, it's way glossier than it was. So sometimes defect removal isn't the main priority, but clarity and gloss is. And however, those two go hand in hand at some point, which is what is kind of happening here. So what I did was I polished off all of the fine swirls, some of the moderate swirls, and some of the like kind of lighter, random isolated deeper scratches, or rids I should call them. And what that does is it really clears up all of the like gray look that happens on some black paint like this. So what's left are the really heavy brush marks, which are really common around here because you wash a truck that's dirty, or you wash it with a wash brush at the car wash, and you're just gonna gouge the paint. And these scratches may look pretty like, oh, it's just a swirl or whatever, but fortunately, wash brush scratches around here are super deep. So that's what's left on this truck. So, but yeah, the clarity's gone, and not gone, it's improved drastically. You can kind of see on this side. So next I've got moving on to the other side of the truck here, and we've got some pretty decent sized scratches on the whatchamacallit, flares. Fenders and door panels are all kind of similar to the other side, so see what we can do with this side. Alright, so I just wrapped up polishing. Turned out alright. Pretty glossy, I'd say, compared to what it was. It was looking pretty dull and gray all over. Now at least it looks black once again. I guess I'll go over the steps as to how I got to here. So once it came in and was dry from thawing overnight, I washed it, and first off I started with the wheels. I used Chemical Guy's citrus degreaser on the tires and the fender liners to kind of break down the dirt and grime that's on there. That would really helps clean it up before I hit it with a pressure washer. Wheels were hit with Griot's Garage heavy duty wheel cleaner, and they were brushed in the barrels and the faces. Everything got properly washed, and then I moved on to the body, which I washed by doing a quick pre-rinse with the pressure washer to kind of get rid of the heavy stuff. Then I foamed it down with Chemical Guy's Maxi Suds 2 and some distilled water. Using my foam cannon, let that dwell, rinse that off, moved on to the hand wash using maxi suds as well out of the bucket, 3-bucket method. Well, 2 I guess you should say, but 3 including the wheel bucket. Hand washed the whole vehicle top to bottom, rinsed all that off, moved on to the next step, which was to chemically decontaminate the paint. I used G-Technic W6 fallout remover on the paint, and that got rid of the embedded iron and metal particles. Let that dwell for approximately 5 minutes, rinsed it and foamed it again with Chemical Guys maxi suds again. Then I rinsed that off, and I moved on to the clay bar, which I used the Griot's Garage Brilliant Finish synthetic clay. And then I went and finally rinsed it with some spot-free reverse osmosis water and then hand dried it. That was all just to get it cleaned. So now with the polishing, I did a single step polish using Griot's Garage Fast Correcting Cream and their white heavy cut foam pads. And this is just the state afterwards. It's been polished. It hasn't been stripped yet. So I'll do a physical strip of the paint, get rid of any polishing oils before I coat it, or not coat it, I should say, seal it with G-Technic C2V3 and P&S bead maker. So there will be some gloss to pull out yet, but as for right now, I'm gonna just kind of take a little quick break and then I'll come back to it. All right, so the truck just got an IPA wipe down, which is a wipe down with a mixture of 30%, 90% isopropyl alcohol to 60% distilled water. Removes all the polishing oils, leaves a really clean surface just for the sealant to bond to. If I would have gone with a ceramic coating instead, yeah, I would have used Panel Wipe by G-Technic instead, but since this is just a sealant, I use IPA. So next up, I'm going to use C2V3 liquid crystal applied via a high quality microfiber applicator and wiped off with a high quality microfiber towel, for both from the Rag company. This will offer 8 months of protection, mostly from UV and harsh chemicals. Will offer a lot of beading properties, however, that's why I add bead maker, because this one doesn't offer quite as much as I'd like. So first layer will be this, and I'll show what I'll be putting on next. So looks pretty good. C2V3 is applied. Next step I will move on to is applying bead maker using 2 different Rag company microfiber towels. Different method of application for this product, but goes on right on top of the C2V3 and should make things even glossier. Slowly stacking the gloss.